To book your team or to learn more about baseline concussion testing, please visit acpottawa.ca and visit one of our 5 locations in the city of Ottawa.
All right, we're back with the OVFL Podcast. So Tyler, I think quickly we're going to look at a player profile, an OVFL alumni. We're going to try to get to one a week. And I mean, right now we're 10 days out from the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So, I mean, who better to look at than Mr. Essex Ravens, Mr. Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson, he's been making plays all year this season. I remember, I think it was against Arizona. He took it 80 yards in the house, to the house. He's 2-point conversion. He caught that one this week. And
that 2-point Hail Mary.
2-point Hail Mary, exactly. That really, at the end of the day, is what allowed them to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he's been making plays for 2 years, and he played in the OVFL, and now he's on the Seattle Seahawks. 1-time Super Bowl champion. I wouldn't be surprised if he was 2-time Super Bowl champion in 10 days.
Exactly. And I mean, we're looking at a guy who plays tight end in a very run-heavy offense that has almost 700 career yards in 2 years as a tight end.
Yep.
He's got 4 touchdowns. He's their go-to guy as a tight end. I mean, he's number 1 on the depth chart.
That's
Looks
right.
like. And I mean, for a guy coming out of Ontario, in the Premier Ontario League,
Yep.
That is the OVFL, and he's been quoted in articles. I mean, in his Windsor Star article, he says that he doesn't, without the Essex Ravens, without this development process he doesn't think that he would have had a chance at Rice, where he played for 4 years,
That's right.
and then with that, a chance in the NFL. So he's kind of the template, I guess.
He is. And it helps that he's 6'5", 250, and runs a 4.5 flat 40, which is like not lightning fast, but for 6'5", 250, that's extremely athletic and fast.
Pretty good, yeah.
And if he says it's a good development process, if he was able to use that development process to make it to the NFL, then we believe that more people should recognize that and be like, wow, okay, not everyone's going to make the NFL, but the process is sound. The system is there. The league, the competition is great. So we should shout out the people that do it, and the league does its job.
Absolutely. Some of the best volunteers you'll ever see.
That's
I
right.
mean, these people give up so much of their time for it, and it's great and it's awesome. And he's what we can all strive to be like, And
dream. If you're going to dream, you might as well dream big.
Exactly.
Right? And you know what? We're not telling kids don't think about it, but at the end of the day, you got to do the path that's right. If you're 6'5", 250 and run a 4.5 flat, you have a chance.
Absolutely. All right, so from there, we're gonna go into our first state of the team. What do you want to call it? And some guys that you're pretty familiar with. The Cumberland Panthers is the first team we got on the docket for this week.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about them if you want to start from the bottom up.
Well, obviously they're always going to be playing the little brother to Myers Riders. They're the 2 teams from Ottawa. Myers has been around since day 1. And they have a lot of success. And so Cumberland Panthers are always going to have to deal with that. Last season, they obviously had an extremely successful year at all 3 divisions. They made the playoffs at all 3 divisions. They lost in the semifinals at both the Bantam and the junior varsity divisions. And they ended up losing in the first round of the playoffs in the varsity division. But it was a classic game. It was like 41-37. It was a great game. They really held their own. And they had a chance to go on next week and maybe even make it a little further. So big successes for all 3 teams. I think they got a lot to be excited for next year.
Yeah. Tell me about their Bantam team. I think you said they had their quarterback's back this year.
Yeah.
Right?
So last year they did have a little bit of sort of injury problems at the quarterback position. Okay. So the guy that they had at quarterback wasn't able to play a lot of the games. So they had a young kid named Christian play a lot, and he is probably the best quarterback prospect in the city of Ottawa. Yeah. If you're going to look at the young kids, like the young guys coming up like 12 and under, the guy had like 50 touchdowns every year. He just literally he's advanced in his quarterback skills for his age, and I think him coming up to the Bantam team with all the athletes they're going to be able to have from the Mustangs and from the Raiders and from all the other teams that feed the OVFL Panthers team, I think he's going to have a huge year, and he's going to be the catalyst to their team because their best player, Kean Williams, he's moving up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
And he dominated the league last year.
Yeah.
And he's moving up to JV where the big boys play. And now he's going to have to see what they can do.
Okay. Yeah. So I think they had something like 4 All-Stars last year.
They had tons of great. They had like literally all the Cumberland teams had tons of great players.
Yes.
And at the Bantam division, they just lost to Myers.
Yeah.
They ended up losing to Myers at Bantam, and it was a close game, 28-21. They were down 28-0, and they almost came back and were able to do it. But when you're down 28-0, it's tough.
So you think this might be a year they challenge him again?
I think, to be honest, last year I thought Myers overachieved, even though they won the championship. So you got to give them. They had Honorriella Loki. He's a great player. So he's going to be gone. I look at the quarterback, Christian, coming up for Bantam Panthers, and if he does what I think he can do, I think they're going to be pretty difficult to stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now talking about Keon Williams, the guy's moving up to JV.
He's moving up to JV.
How do you think those guys look?
Well, they're the biggest question mark, in my opinion, to be honest with you, because they're losing so many great players. Like, I can't even, like, you were trying to do a list of all the All-Stars. I was like, don't even bother, because it's like 30. You know?
They got, I'm pretty sure they led the league in All-Star appearances.
They're undefeated regular season. Warren Steves has those guys, like, literally so focused on trying to win a championship last year. Their starting running back led the league in rushing, Baxter Balthazar. He'll be eligible to move up to the varsity division where they can really use the help at running back. So I do think it's a nice fit there. I think there are some coaches from the junior varsity team that are going to be moving up with the kids to the varsity program because they've invested a couple years in them. And I think that sometimes as a coach, if you've already put the time in with the kids, it makes the transition for the kids a lot easier if you can go with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that if what I think I've heard is true, I think that will really benefit the varsity team. But guys like Tavon Hibbard, I think his name is. He's a wide receiver. He can play football. He played on the team last year. John Mafuta, he can play football. He can move up next year. Pascal, the quarterback, he can move up and play. These are all guys that can help contribute right away to a varsity team that's on the up and up, who gets almost every player back, including their entire like starting defense, I think, pretty much. But the people I haven't spoke about with the junior varsity team is the offensive line. They had the best offensive line in the country, in the province, and all three of the best players, they're moving up. So now those three guys are going to be playing offensive line for Ron Raymond and the varsity team. So there's so many good players coming from the junior varsity team up to the varsity that I don't know how great these junior varsity teams can be. They're just losing so many guys. They got good players coming in. But that's the biggest question mark I have. I know that Alex Loria, quarterback, will be able to do big things, and Keon Williams will be able to be a big-time contributor. But first year, you never know.
That's always the biggest question mark with in the OVFL is that age group, because especially some guys develop so fast. But just the age is it's kind of that weird age where some guys that are first year in JV might not be as far in their development, and then you get the guys who walk in with full beards and look like they're 25 years old sometimes. Exactly.
But when they move up to varsity, those guys sometimes have a bigger problem.
Then it mellows it back out when everyone's kind of starting to develop. So this varsity team, you think, is looking pretty good?
The thing about the varsity team that's so good is, number one, they got a coach that's so excited to be coaching.
Yeah.
January 1st hit, he was posting on Facebook that sign-ups going. Like, Ron Raymond is so excited because they put in a lot of work last year. They had a lot of young guys. They really stuck with their system. And I think at the end of the year, they were playing their best football. They lost a game on like one drive, like one play. They had the game won. They ended up losing it. And I think that stuck with them. Every single one of them. They're like, we are actually that close to beat a team that actually made a push to win the next round. So they have some confidence inside. I think they get almost every one of their players back. They get tons of great, like 15 top prospects coming up from the JV division, fill the rosters everywhere. He's most excited about this offensive line because, like you said, can a 17-year-old offensive lineman dominate the varsity program? Probably not. But when you get three of them, and they're all good players, it's going to make your whole team just a little bit better.
Absolutely.
And their quarterback's coming back, and he was at Ottawa U last year. He didn't get to play at Ottawa U, but he's on the team. He's working with the coaches. He's probably running, I'm assuming if he's not dressing, he's probably running the scout team. So that's a lot of great reps.
Absolutely.
And if you can take those reps he learned at Ottawa U and bring them to the varsity division, I can only feel that's going to be a positive for the team.
Absolutely. And who's, I guess, the young guy coming up, Pascal, I had the pleasure of coaching last year in the AIA game. And that kid can play too. So
he can play. And
absolutely.
You know what? I think that especially if the same coaches are coming up and Pascal can sort of continue his growth with Intari and sort of see if he can take the next step in his development. Like, he didn't play well at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm going to be harsh on Pascal. I love the guy, but he didn't have his best games the last two games of the year. He peaked mid-season. The whole team did. And I want to see him sort of try to get to the point where he's taking his team to the next level. And that it's a team effort, but it's got to start with your quarterback. It always does start with your quarterback.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, like, as I said, I watched every game from Cumberland Panthers last year. I'm excited to see these guys move up. I'm excited to get working with them this year. And it's exciting to see all these kids that play Cumberland Panthers in NCAFA, because these are all NCAFA guys, Mustangs and Raiders and St. Pat's High School, Hillcrest High School, Franco Cite. These are all this is my neighborhood. This is all the kids this is where I grew up. I played Panthers back in the day. So it's good to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to see them. Hopefully, we're going to get the chance to talk to them. Some of them on the show. Talk
next
to some
week,
coaches.
we're going to have Warren Steves on the show, and we're going to be talking about some of his key returning guys, and we'll also talk about some of his key guys that he's going to be feeding up to Ron Raymond and the varsity team. Warren has a company, Athletic Recruiters Canada, really tries to help kids make the next step in their athletic development. So we'll be talking to him about that a little bit next week. And who knows, maybe we'll get your trainer back on and talk about nutrition or something else, some other factor, you know? So
we're trying to help these kids grow, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Amen. This is the first podcast of many.
Yep.
We want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank Nate, doing a great job and running with it. And next week we're going to be right back at it. So take us away, Nate.
Yeah. Well, guys, I just thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for the next one. Help us share the link. You know, follow us on Twitter. Make sure you're doing all those little things for us, and we're gonna help try to make this league grow. It's gonna be a pleasure. We're excited to work with you guys. We're excited to work with everybody here in Ottawa and all of Ontario to make this OVFL turn into something special. So for the guys at House Edge Media, for Tyler McLaren, I'm Nate Behar, and thanks for listening, guys.